Had a law passed here in Texas that recognized that medical marijuana was the most effective treatment for certain types of epileptic seizures. Nevertheless, they still require you to go through the conventional treatment before you're eligible to try that. You have to be recommended by a doctor. And of course, the catch-22 in all this is that the federal government does not recognize officially medical marijuana laws passed at the state level. We can see how that's playing out in Washington state. This article from INFOWARS.com. Medical marijuana growers in Washington are facing prison. 3 of the Kettle Falls 5 are scheduled to be sentenced this week. Now, what happened is, and this is amazing the way they were railroaded through this trial, but this is something we have come to expect from the insane war on drugs. The war on drugs that gave us the idea of civil asset forfeiture, where they could charge your property with a crime, confiscate it without ever convicting you of a crime, let alone not even charging you with a crime. They could just say that your property was somehow tangentially involved and just confiscate it. Do it as a civil action so that they say that you don't have any rights under the due process guarantees of the Constitution. In this particular case, what they did was during the trial at a federal courthouse in Spokane last March, the defendants were not allowed to explain why they were openly growing marijuana on a plot in a rural northeastern Washington marked by a big green cross visible from the air. So they're doing it in the open. They mark it with a great big green cross, but no, they were not allowed to explain what was going on to it. According to the pretrial ruling, it was irrelevant that they were using marijuana for medical purposes as permitted by state law. See, they were in compliance with state law, but the feds were the ones who came after them. And the feds were the ones who prohibited them from saying anything about it being medical marijuana. They just came after them as if they were drug dealers, not as if they were complying with the state law. They say, although no one was supposed to talk about medical marijuana during the trial, the prosecution kept stumbling onto the subject because it was clearly relevant to the questions of where the pot went, which was central to the case. Now it is coming into the sentencing phase. Hopefully the truth will come out, but we're seeing this happening not only in Washington state, we're seeing it happen in many other states where they pass state laws saying that medical marijuana is legal, then they come in and arrest the people or send them to jail or do what they did in Michigan. Here's a story from the Washington Post. Why armed drug cops took every belonging from a Michigan soccer mom. They say, after they breached my door at gunpoint with masks, she said, they proceeded to take every belonging in my house. And when I say every belonging, I mean every belonging. Her husband's tools, a lawnmower, a bicycle. They even took $90 worth of birthday money out of her daughter's pink bedroom, as listed in the summary of seized property that was compiled by the police. She said, my children's artwork was on the floor with boot prints on it. They hung my lingerie from the ceiling fan, she said. They took her vehicles, including the car seats for her small children. Why did they do this? She was a registered medical marijuana caregiver. And the police said this, they thought that she might be out of compliance. You see how upside down, how perverted our system of justice is. That they think that she might be out of compliance. They don't charge her with anything. She's not found guilty. They just go in and take everything, every belonging of hers. Then we see that, of course, the judge was even outraged with this. He said, why would you keep several items that are stated here, he asked the prosecution, unless you just want to be nasty about it? He said, I'm just saying that from a pure matter of acting like a decent human being, those things are not going to be necessary, ought to be given back. Even if the charges against them are dropped completely, the Washington Post points out, they will still face a steep legal battle to get all their stuff back because it's very difficult to get seized property back even when you are found to be innocent because it's not a criminal case. Under civil asset forfeiture, there's not an issue of guilt or innocence. They just take whatever they want. They can be vindictive and nasty about it, or they can take very valuable things and use it for their own personal gain. And we see that happening with law enforcement and with district attorneys' offices throughout the country. And then they point out another case, one other case. This is Jennifer Hensey. Like Annette Chatuk, Hensey is a self-described soccer mom and also a registered medical marijuana caregiver. She says they took everything from her as well, the TVs, the kids' phones, ladders. She was initially charged with 2 marijuana-related offenses, but the charges were dismissed by the judge. She was very happy about it. She drove to the county prosecutor's office to see about getting her belongings back, but the county said they're going to be keeping all that. Quote, the prosecutor came out to me and said, well, I can still beat you in civil court. Yeah, when we have a situation where inanimate objects are charged with crimes, it's such an upside-down situation, you certainly can. Take a look at this next story and ask yourself, who is the real stormtrooper? We've got a guy who is dressed up like a stormtrooper out of Star Wars, and he's in Massachusetts. He's walking along, going to a friend's house. He happens to walk in front of a school, and it creates a panic event. George Cross, 40, of Lynn, Massachusetts, was arrested. The principal thought that the gun was a toy, but he said, you can never be too safe. You know what? You can be too safe. This is a good example of being too safe. You can create so much security that you turn our society into a maximum security prison. That's what a prison is. It's maximum security. He was dressed as a Star Wars character. He was carrying a blaster, they say. And they point out that he said, I thought it was a costume. I was walking through the neighborhood. I was just showing friends, all that. He says, all of a sudden, the police show up and they take him down. They say, the way things are today, you just can't have that. That's the excuse from the principal. That's the excuse from the police. The police report said the principal realized the gun was plastic, but as I said before, you can never be too safe. So who is the real stormtrooper? And can we have too much security? We can if it becomes our primary objective. Remember that there is no trade-off between liberty and safety. Slaves are never safe. And to the degree that you trade off your liberty, to that degree, you become a slave. Well, that's our news for tonight. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to see it every night as it happens, you can subscribe to our Prison Planet TV broadcast. That will allow you to share the news each night with 20 of your friends, as well as have access to all of Alex Jones's documentaries. Monday through Friday, we're here at 7 Central. Join us then tomorrow night. We'll have more updates on our reports from Bilderberg.